going to try to make some Acorn coffee. So recipe I found on almostoffgrid.com. At our last camping trip, we went over to Blue Licks Battlefield State Park over in Kentucky. I'll try to include some pictures. And around our spot, we had acorns falling all the time. So I was able to gather up a bunch of these. You can see here, it might be a pound, maybe a little bit less really, of acorns here. What we have to do first is go through these, make sure there's no wormholes, no splits, nothing gross in them. I tried to pick out the good ones when we were out there, but we'll just go through real quick, double check. What we're going to do is sort these out, and we're going to give them a good rinse before we get going, making sure there's no dirt or dust or who knows what else on there. We don't need them to be too perfect, but we definitely want to make sure there's no worms in them or any animals who try to eat them or anything that we just don't want to eat later on, because what we're going to do is roast these, grind them up, and try making them into a coffee-like drink. Alright, so these are nice and scrubbed off now, nice and rinsed, should be nice and clean. What we're going to do is we're going to take them, put them in a nice pot of boiling water for about 20 minutes, let them get nice and soft, and cook on up. So what I've been doing here to get these out, and you can see I got a few done already, so I've just been taking them with my thumb, just kind of crushing them. Eventually the outer husk there will pop like that, and then you can get in here, use your fingers depending if it's soft enough like that, or sometimes I've had to take a butter knife here and get in there and pry it out. You can see there's this little papery coating like a peanut has. I try to get off as much of that as I can, and then toss it over there to let it dry down. The recipe does call for trying to get those off. I've been doing the best I can here. Some of these are just refusing, like this one is just refusing to come off. That one did. This one came off pretty well. So I'm just going to do the best that I can here, and we're going to hope for the best. And I can see this is going to be the most tedious, time-consuming part of this entire process. So I ended up letting these boil. It was probably close to an hour, maybe a little bit longer than that, hour and 10-15 minutes total. I wouldn't worry too much about these breaking up. What we're going to end up doing in the next step anyway is giving them a little chop so that we can let them sit out overnight and get nice and dry again. Alright, good evening again, everybody. We are now roughly 24 hours later. I have shelled all these, gave them a pretty rough chop. Don't have to do anything too crazy just yet. I was able to go through here. Some of these, the papery coating of them came off pretty well, like this one, for example. came off pretty well, and others, like this one, did not. So the next step here calls for either grinding them in a coffee grinder or in a blender. I don't want to risk using my coffee grinder for something like this, just in case things don't turn out or it imparts a weird flavor into it. And I think my blender's going to be a little bit too big in terms of the blade clearance to the bottom. So I have this little mini food processor here. So you can see sort of the classic's a little foggy. The clearance is pretty close. So what I'm going to try to do here is run these probably a handful at a time through this. And we're going to try to grind these up decently well. And then we're going to put them over here on the baking sheet. We're going to roast them for a little bit. Alright, so they're ground up to a decently even consistency. There are pretty much all about the same size, and then we have a bunch of little smaller pieces. I guess that's to be expected. But it looks like it's the best I can do with the tools that I'm using here. Now, on the recipe it says to place the ground acorns back on the baking tray and pop under the grill for a few minutes until they're dark brown. They're prone to catch, so if you prefer you can put them in the oven. Maybe it's just because I'm American, but I don't know what putting them under the grill for a few minutes means. Maybe they mean the broiler, the oven, maybe they literally mean a grill. I'm not really sure. So what I'm going to do is put them in the oven. There's no direction here for the temperature, so I have it set for 375. And we'll let this go for a little while. We'll see how it goes. Depending how this goes, I think it might be good as an alternative to try this in a cast iron skillet on a pan maybe. We're going to try it this way for now. We'll slide these here in the oven and we'll see how it goes. So we're going to stir these again. There's no real direction on how long to roast these for. Oh, they're getting a little bit smoky now. Yeah, we're going to call this good since we're in the house. Yeah, I got to clean the oven, I know. It just says until dark brown. That looks decently-ish dark brown here. We'll let this cool down some right now, and then we'll jar it up and we'll see how it is. So how does the Acorn coffee taste? Well, it tastes very buttery or almost a butterscotchiness to it. Very smooth. It does have a very gamey taste though, if you will. Sort of like a gamey pecan or walnut. I just used a couple spoonfuls here, filled up with hot water. You can do it to your own taste, but it has a very distinctive aroma, both when it's roasting and when it's steeping. So just be aware of that. But overall, it's definitely worth a shot.